Welcome to One Brothas Mind, and I am KD Smooth. Today we will question and challenge popular information and views from a B1 perspective, while we expose the real facts you need. We do this to strengthen your logical, critical, and discerning thinking skills. Because in today's world, hard choices are mandatory and they come with consequences. So you need all the information. And at One Brothas Mind, we do this from a B1 Yeshua the Christ follower's perspective. Now, if you're not ready, you better get ready with KD Smooth at One Brothas Mind. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's KD Smooth coming back at you here with One Brothas Mind with a new report. I pray you all are doing well. Shalom, family. In today's report, we're going to cover a story that is not getting much attention out of Florida out of Tennessee. And we're also going to have some bonus coverage at the end of our Tennessee story with a story out of Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, get your popcorn, buckle up. This is going to be a sticky situation. Okay? And why I say that? Because we're going to discuss this issue. Should it be illegal to falsely accuse someone of being a baby's father? Yeah, we're going there today, family. Should it be illegal, a crime, to falsely accuse someone of being a baby's father? Okay, so to start this off, I'm going to share with you a short clip out of Tennessee about a bill that the Tennessee legislature is working on that, if passed, would make it in Tennessee illegal to falsely accuse someone of being a baby's father. So we're gonna check out this clip, and after the clip, we're gonna come back and we're gonna dig into this a little bit. Okay? All right, here we go. Let's get our clip going. Yeah, y'all better buckle up. All right, let's see here. Here we go.
Unmarried men from claiming a child that isn't biologically their own is making its way through the Tennessee legislature. Action News 5's Bria Bolden spoke with the local lawmaker behind this bill to find out why he believes the law is needed. Bria?
Well, Joe, House Bill 2698 passed through the Children and Family Affairs Subcommittee today now, but it didn't come without a challenge from the Tennessee Department of Human Services. Memphis Representative Antonio Parkinson is sponsoring the House version of this bill, and he told me today he has spoken with constituents who said they have had to foot the bill for child support even after finding out a child they originally thought was theirs was not.
He presented the magistrate with the DNA findings. The magistrate said, somebody got to take care of him, referring to the child, and it's going to be you, and gavelled him out.
Memphis Representative Antonio Parkinson is sponsoring House Bill 2698 that would require DNA evidence proving paternity before a man signs a birth certificate for a child that may not be biologically his.
The state has been turning a blind eye to this by allowing people to sign blindly without any proof of DNA association to this child, which is allowing people to be guilty, or in some cases, of paternity fraud, which is a crime.
However, the Tennessee Department of Human Services says if made into law, their department could be at risk of losing about $52 million in federally matched dollars.
I guess the concerns that we have is that the bill would possibly put us out of compliance with the federal regulations.
Okay, I'm gonna run that little statement back there one more time so you can hear what the man in the blue tie is saying. He's speaking in politically correct terms, but we're gonna cover that, what he is specifically saying, in just a moment. Here we go.
The bill would possibly put us out of compliance with the federal regulations.
He's talking about the money that the state receives as a part of being the legal management official for child support. That's why they're opposed to it. It's going to jack up, in most cases, reduce the money that the state is receiving and profiting from receiving child support, specifically from men who are not the biological fathers. Let's continue.
Speaking with attorneys from the U.S. Department of Human Services, Representative Parkinson says the bill would not affect the money the state receives.
It's only right and the moral thing to do, an ethical thing to do, to ensure that the right people's names that match their DNA is on that birth certificate. Anything other than that, you are stealing a child from a biological parent, and it's state sanctioned.
Now, the Senate version of this bill is up for a vote on the Senate floor tomorrow. Representative Parkinson's version of the bill is moving on to the Civil Justice Committee and will be up for a vote March 23rd. Reporting live in Memphis, Bria Bolden, Action News 5.
Okay, family. Y'all heard it. Yeah, we're going there. Should it be illegal? Should it be illegal? Oh, that's an ad. Let me get that adjusted there. Should it be illegal to falsely accuse someone of being a child's father? Should that be a crime? I want to highlight a couple of things in this follow-up article for you guys. You see my source when it came out. In this article, it says Memphis, Tennessee, a bill introduced. Matter of fact, let me do this. Just before I even get started, let me do this. There we go. A bill introduced to the Tennessee General Assembly would make it a crime to falsely accuse someone of being a child's parent. The bill was originally introduced to the legislature by Antonio Parkinson, as you heard in the clip. Okay. The bill is known as HB 0253 and SB 0331. It passed the Senate unanimously on March 20th. In this version, the bill would make it a misdemeanor when a person commits parentage fraud. A misdemeanor, which we're going to get into that here in a second. Parentage fraud, it is defined in the bill, occurs when a person seeks to legally establish the individual or a father, a man, as the biological parent of a child in the person's custody, in the woman's custody or a person's custody, with the intent to deprive that person of property, money, resources, or to prevent the child's actual biological parent from exercising parental rights to the child. Under the bill, parentage fraud could also be when someone seeks to be legally established as a child's parent and the person knows or should reasonably know that they are not the child's biological parent. There are exceptions laid out in the bill as well, and we're going to before we really dig into this, we're going to actually get into the exceptions. So bear with me a moment, because we gotta look at the exceptions. So bear with me a moment. All right, I want to get the exceptions together for you so y'all can see them for yourself. Let's see here. All right, we getting there. Okay, I'm gonna leave that kind of big. I want to make that bigger for you guys, so there's no doubt what's happening here. And this is an actual copy. You can find this bill online. All you got to do is search for this bill name, and you will find it online. Let's see here. Let me adjust that just a little bit more, because I'm not happy. I am not happy. Why is that not looking all the way the way I want? Always something, y'all. Bear with me, family. Bear with me. Okay. All right. I think I see what I gotta do. Made it a little too big. All right. Yeah, I made it just a little too big. Okay. I knew this was going to give me some trouble when I was fooling with it. It's always the devil busy, y'all. The devil busy. Let me try. Okay. So technical difficulties, family. I want to get this lined up just right so there's no question, we all can see what's going on here. And it's not wanting to act right. It ain't got no act right now. Wow, are you serious? Why it ain't got no act right? Let me try one more thing here. See if I can get it together. Try one more thing. Get this all on the script. Wow, are you serious, man? Oh man, the devil is busy. Without question, the devil is busy. Huh. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna have to move it as we go, because the devil is doing everything the devil wants to do to try to stop me. But we're not gonna do. We're gonna move forward. All right. So let's move it over here. You see the bill name at the top, Bill 253. Specifically, I am only attempting to, in the bill, I mean, you've already heard what it's talking about. And I only want to highlight the exceptions. Okay? And the first one at the top, this is highlighted in yellow. The first exception is the child, it could be a crime, except for if the child involved was conceived as a result of an act of aggravated rape. Let me bring that back over here. Aggravated rape. Wow, why is it cutting that off? That's what that actually is saying, family, is aggravated rape. Okay. Right here over to the left. It's aggravated rape. My apologies for the technical difficulties, but I wanted to get these exceptions in. All right. So that one's pretty obvious, right? Exception number 2, right in the middle, in yellow, highlighted in yellow. The child involved, it's not a crime if the child involved has been or is in the process of being adopted. Okay? I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. That's a sticky situation. That's a very sticky, because what about scenarios where a mom either doesn't know who the father is, or let's say is unsure who the father is, or knows who the father is and out of spite doesn't want to inform the biological father of the child and wants to also put the child up for adoption, even though she knows who the biological father is. And either at the time of birth or sometime later, the actual biological father kind of starts to suspect and figure some things out that he and the child's mother, actually there's a possibility they had a child. And he, word gets back to him by a birdie, let's say that. And so he starts to do the legal work and hire attorneys and whatnot, and he finds out he's got a child out here that the mom purposely did not inform him about. But at the same time, the mom turned around and put the child up for adoption out of spite. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of, and that's just one example. Okay? That's just one example of a scenario. Okay, the second law, I'm not 100% sure about that. If everything is on the up and up, okay. I will just leave it there with that example, because that happens also. Even though it sounds a little outlandish, it does happen. Okay. All right, let's go to the third exception, number 3 on your screen. The victim of the offense, meaning the biological father, was the defendant's spouse, was the woman's spouse. They were married at the time of the offense. And that's what it says here. It's cut off a little bit, but that's what it says here. And that just under here, number 3. I'm gonna read that again. Number 3. The victim of the offense was the defendant's spouse at the time of the offense. Is no parentage fraud. If they were a married couple at the time the wife had an affair, had produced a child that was not her husband's. That's the third exception here. The reality is, you can, the percentage that this third one happens is debatable or arguable. But number 3 happens, again, based on your opinion, it's debatable. Number 3 happens possibly more times or at a greater percentage than parentage fraud on unmarried couples. So why in the hell is this number 3 in here? Parentage fraud should be parentage fraud, whether it's 2 single people or a married couple. Hell, a certain percentage of the time, the husband married mom because of his belief, based on what mom told him and them being married, that like even before they got married, he went ahead and married her, believing that the child that she was carrying was his. And then now that he married her, and then after marriage, he finds out and starts to figure out that the child that his wife has had may not be his. And then he goes and does DNA, all the testing and everything, and find out that that child is not his, and he's already married to her. Or he married her just before she had the child. That happens a whole gang of times. So, yeah. So that's just supposed to be a get out of jail free card? Oh, let's get married, then I ain't got to worry about being charged with this crime? What? Okay. Let's put it, let me say this. Let's look at this from a perspective. I know the fellas out there, I know y'all thinking the same thing I'm thinking. This is a start. Let's put it that way. It's a bill. It still can be modified. And even if it passes and becomes law in its current state with number 3 and number 2 on here, it can be modified to be more legally fair at a later time. Let's just say that. So we're going to go with what it is right now. All right. Don't pay any ticket attention specifically to this area that it takes effect by this July 1st date. That's not the case. The bill has not passed yet. They just wrote that in there. That would be modified accordingly when it does, or if it does become law. Okay. So what y'all think? Yeah, we gotta top it up on this one, y'all. We got to go in a little bit. This bill in Tennessee, it's a game changer. Okay? It is a game changer. Again, it establishes legally that it's mandatory that a DNA test for every man that believes he's the father is required, a DNA test prior to signing the birth certificate. All right. So right off top, if this becomes law, there's going to be a whole lot of hospital turnups. There's going to be a whole lot of hospital turnups. Okay? A whole lot of hospital turnups when them DNA test results come back. That's the first thing. All right. Now, again, that what that man in the clip was stating, and he was talking politically correct, but what he was talking about was it's going to jack up the money that each state, or in this case, Tennessee, receives for managing the child support cases and payments and all that. They make millions, states make millions off of managing child support accounts. Okay? So their argument, the state's argument is like, wait a minute. If we start doing this, then a lot of the fathers who are willing to sign the birth certificate, not knowing they're not the real biological father, but they believe they are. If we don't let them go ahead and sign as the father, so we can, down the road, if need be, we can steal child support from them. Well, that takes money from us, the state. That makes us lose money. That's the state's argument. That's what that guy was saying in the blue tie. Literally. Well, what we supposed to do then? We can't get no money. We're gonna be getting, that's gonna cost us a lot of money that we're getting today and making today if we start being correct about what father is signed to the birth certificate. If we require it's got to be the actual biological father, why should we do that? That's the state's argument. That's what the man in the blue tie was saying. Let that sink in. Let it sink in. A lot of fellas out there, y'all ain't really, especially young fellas, y'all ain't really know. The OGs, we been knowing this. We've been knowing this. Y'all ain't really know how this game is set up. This satanic system. They don't care that there's a certain percentage of fathers that they're receiving child support from that's paying out all monies for 18 years that are not the actual biological father. They don't care. Satan don't care. Yeah. So, also, if you really think this whole mindset through, that's why there are not a variety or many forms of say, accurate or highly protective forms of male birth control. There should be, think about it, there should be just as many high performing forms of male birth control as there are for ladies, but there's not. I mean, yeah, you have condoms, but there's a significant sacrifice with that. The sensitivity, right? Well, why isn't there appeal for men just to take, the 5 or 6 hours before the get down goes down? Or what have you? Why isn't there just a pill? I mean, yeah, there's vasectomies, but that's permanent. When most birth control forms for ladies is temporary. This is on purpose. They don't want men to have legitimate, dependable forms of birth control because that don't sacrifice sensitivity, let's say that, because they know, we'll be taking the hell out of them. We be popping them jokers like popcorn. If it was a pill or something, hey man, And so therefore a lot less babies will be being created. Therefore, there will be a lot less opportunities for child support and all the other things that come along with that. Okay, I told y'all this is gonna be sticky, but they're trying to begin to deal with these situations and this issue here in Tennessee. And be clear, if you look around each year at the different states and the new laws that are and bills that are introduced, they usually, especially ones that are going to be significant impact, they usually try to introduce those bills and laws and get them started in like one state somewhere in the U.S. first, because it's like the starting point. And then once, if it can be made law in one state, that's when other states quickly begin to follow and duplicate the law in additional states. So this one, they're trying Tennessee right now. That if it doesn't pass, doesn't mean it's not going to pop up somewhere else in another state. But they're just trying Tennessee right now. So basically, family, what this addresses is many women actually have multiple monkey dance partners in a short period of time. Many do. Not all, but many do. But when they become pregnant from that short period of time, most women usually choose the man that they really like the most or love the most. And it doesn't really matter whether that particular man is the actual biological father. Or the next best option, if it's not a like or love the most situation, it's the one who has the best job and income. The one that's their income is the most stable. Many women, not all, many women will choose that guy, even though he's not the biological father. Okay? That's been happening for decades. Okay? So the end result, many men are raising kids that are not theirs. Just like it referred to in the clip. There are estimates of up to as high as possibly 60% of fathers are not the biological fathers. Yeah, I know some of y'all go, wait a minute, 60%? Yeah. Depending on where you get your information. That percentage is debatable because without the DNA test, how you going to come up with a percentage? You can't. You actually have to have this bill become law and be in effect for, say, 3 to 5 years, and that'll start to produce some kind of percentage of how many failed DNA tests are happening. But that's not even going to really shed full light on what the percentage is today without a law like this. Because what will happen if it becomes law in Tennessee, many mothers will know this is the law, and they're like, okay, whoa, I got to go ahead and find out who the biological father is. I can't, just go ahead and say it's this one or that one, because I'm going to get in trouble. It's a crime. So a lot of women will, not all of them, but a lot of women will kind of stop doing that. And that basically they'll be required to, at some point in time, prior to the birth certificate being signed, which is usually signed in the hospital, shortly after birth, they're gonna have to either have both or however many potential fathers there, or not have no fathers at the hospital, or they're gonna have to. There's gonna be some splaining required.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you.
There's gonna be some splaining required prior to the birth certificate being signed. Okay? So, yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Again, a lot of women do this, not all, but a lot of women do. And one of the reasons, the most obvious reason, is then if she picks the one that she loves the most, or is in love with the most, or has the most stable income, then she, with your not the father child support, can now take the child support from you, from the man that's not the father. Now she's free to go be with the man she really want, the Pookie, the Ray Ray, the Brett, the Chad that she really want, while collecting your child support from you. And you're not actually the biological father. Been happening for decades. Okay? So, again, we're asking the question, should parentage fraud be a crime? Yeah, y'all drop it in chat. Drop it in the comments. Let me know what y'all think. Ladies, what y'all think? Should it be a crime to commit parentage fraud? To tell a man that he's the father and he's actually not the biological father. Should that be a crime? Then the next question is, should it be a misdemeanor or a felony?
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you.
I'm going to say it again. The next question then becomes, should it be a misdemeanor or a felony? Because y'all know, if it's just a misdemeanor, there's really no consequences, or not going to be much consequence if it's only a misdemeanor. Even though ladies that have gotten away with this up till now have collected, nearly or over $100,000, from men who are not the biological father over the course of 18 years or more. Now that over $100,000, that's based on I figured up about a $500 a month child support order. So that's not even that much, but when you calculate the calculations, in 18 years, you get up to over $100,000. So in the circumstances of parentage fraud today, where there's no law against it, no major criminal law being utilized, there are mothers that are literally stealing, by way of fraud, over $100,000 from the man that they have pegged and identified as their child's father. That's not the biological father. What crime do you know where a person can steal over $100,000 from a person, from a business, from somebody's house, wherever, and only get charged with a misdemeanor? So then that raises the next question. Should it be a felony? Based on the amount of money that could be stolen from a non-biological father over the course of 18 years, and that's just the money. That doesn't include his time and effort toward the child. That doesn't include the psychological impact if and when the father that's not the biological father discovers that, as well as if and when the child discovers that. So should it be a felony? Okay, some of y'all going, yep, should be a felony. So if it should be a felony, here's another effect. Thousands of men have actually lost their jobs and actually been put in jail over child support, unpaid child support for children that are not their biological children, because there's not been any DNA test done, or at least not before they lost their job or was put in the jail. I mean, think about it. There's a certain percentage of dudes that's been literally got fired from their jobs and been arrested and thrown in jail in certain states for being behind on child support for children that is not even their biological children. Yeah. So, should it be a felony? Okay. And then another question that comes to mind in addition to that is it reasonable for a woman to know who the biological father is? Is that a reasonable expectation to have on all women? With the exception of grape, yeah. I mean, only ladies know who they doing the monkey dance with. And most ladies that are doing the get down know how babies are created. Okay? I mean, it's not even most. All ladies, unless I can see them having an exception here if a lady is, a minor, and there should be a specific set age. I would argue, if a lady's like maybe 14 or 15 or younger, and she consented to the get down, but some ladies that are really young, it's real relative. Some ladies that are real young that's getting it in, they may not fully understand the ramifications from getting it in with multiple men in real short periods of time. So that would have to be hashed out in regards to the law. I would support some sort of exception for a real young minor age. Okay. So again, they have this exception in here for married men. Shouldn't this apply? Should exception 3 not be there? Because a good portion of the time, that's when this is happening. That's who this is happening to during the marriage. So, if you're gonna make this law let's take this back. Actually, should it be a federal crime instead of just a felony? Should it be a federal crime? Remember, we're talking in most cases at least over $100,000 or more over the course of 18 years. Should this be a federal crime with federal punishments? So let's look at what the potential punishments could be. All right. So here in my state, in Indiana, the highest theft level is a level 5 felony theft. And it includes theft of property or money at a $50,000 amount or more. That equals, here in Indiana, a Class A felony. A Class A, Class 5 felony. And it carries a fixed sentence term of 1 to 6 years, imprisonment, and a fine of up to $10,000. The advisory sentence is 3 years imprisonment. So if a person in Indiana steals $50,000, the state of Indiana advises a sentence of 3 years imprisonment. But we're talking about a lady with this parentage fraud that in most cases is stealing over $100,000 from a man who is not the biological father. So should these felony sentence guidelines for theft apply for parentage fraud also? With an advisory sentence of at least 3 years imprisonment? Yeah. Shouldn't there be, significant fines, or in regards to the fine, instead of it just being $10,000? I mean, if you are a man and you have been functioning as a child's father for 10 years, and then whether you're married or not, and you find out that through some health issue or DNA test that that's not your child, you've been providing financial resources for that child for 10 years. That's right about $50,000 or more, especially if you're married. You're providing way more than that. So should the fine be more than $10,000? I mean, just going by the guidelines for the state of Indiana for felony theft. That's what we're doing here. Shouldn't the fine be recalculated, at a calculation that attempts to return the monies that were stolen by way of fraud from a single man or a married man? If he's seeking those, shouldn't it be more of, okay, here's what, in general, either with using the child support, because you got those numbers exactly when there's child support being paid, but when there's a marriage, actually the numbers should be higher as far as what is court ordered to be returned to the non-biological father. Should that be the solution in regards to the fines? What about damages? Should there be any type of award for damages? The psychological, emotional damage. I mean, y'all, you got to think this through. The time equity, the effort that's been put in. I mean, and again, shouldn't there be an attempt to try to recover all the financial support for the non-biological father in these situations, instead of just a small fine? Here's another question. If it's a felony, if it's made to be a felony, should mom lose custody of this child in the cases where the biological father ends up being identified, shouldn't that be an automatic custody switch, primary custody switch to the biological father? I'm just asking questions. Stop cussing me out. Ladies, I'm just asking questions because crimes are being committed. Money is being stolen. Wealth is being stolen. Time, effort is being stolen from a lot of men. So once a man is identified as the non-biological father, in the event the actual biological father can be found and identified by DNA test, should that man at least have the right? Well, technically, should primary custody automatically shift over to the actual biological father? Now, of course, you're getting into the details here. So, depending the age of the child, you can't have a 10-year-old child that's never met their biological father and then just automatically custody shifts over. Yeah, you got to have a process and a period of time if the biological father wants custody and wants to build a relationship. There has to be a process put in place for that, obviously. But shouldn't it occur? Now, if it's a newborn, should custody not automatically be shifted over to the actual biological father? Again, this is only the question when the actual biological father is and can be identified with the DNA test. And then again, once that happens, again, should there be jail time for this type of crime, this type of theft or fraud? The advisory sentence here in Indiana for theft of $50,000 is 3-year jail time, 3-year sentence. Yeah. So that raises a lot of questions, family. It's the point where I'm doing this report. This raises a lot of questions. It's kind of like the Pandora's box. The Pandora's box on this issue was open long time ago. You can go back however many hundreds of thousands of years when more and more ladies begin to, let's say, have this happen where they getting down with more than one man in a very short period of time. Okay? And ladies, gotta be fair here. Y'all have what's called a woman's intuition. Y'all have it. Okay? There's no question about it. But men also have men's intuition also. And a lot of guys, when this issue, as far as a pregnancy comes up, a lot of guys, their intuition is telling them whether it's correct or not correct, that this child may not be mine. There's 1,000,001 reasons why that may be the case, why they may be feeling that way. Like I said, they may be correct, they may be absolutely incorrect. But men have intuition too. Okay? And added to that, you have the laws in our states where something like this, parentage fraud, is either not a law or a crime already, or it's not one that is pursued or executed in any significant fashion. So for men, you know, a lot of dudes, whether they have intuition or not, when a lady tells them, the lady that they've been with says, well, I'm pregnant, a lot of Jews just by default go, well, let's get a DNA test, and then we can talk and see what's up. Just the default, because parentage fraud happens so much, and it goes unchecked, unregulated, unpunished as far as it being a crime. So a lot of dudes, especially today, that's you know, and of course, ladies, that pisses y'all off to the highest level, higher than the highest level, and that's makes sense, especially if you're a lady and you know this is the only man, this is the only guy I've been with. I ain't out here, I'm not that type of woman. I ain't out here hooking up with this one or that one and doing all this, you know. But here at One Brothas Mind, in my opinion, both based on what's been going on up until a bill like this, up until this point, if it becomes law, what's been going on all across the country for decades, both ladies and men should understand each other's position when the idea or when there's a pregnancy. Okay? Now, all men don't do that. Don't automatically go, well, let's get a DNA test. Okay? Because, you know, for a lot of us men, just like for a lot of you ladies, you kind of know. If you with somebody and y'all have built the kind of relationship where basically y'all together every other second of the day and y'all, you know, y'all are so close and wound together and operating together that there really isn't no room for either one of y'all to be out getting it in with nobody else in your life. Y'all y'all relationship is that tight and that consistent. Y'all already know. If we pregnant, we pregnant. You know, the man knows it's his. The lady knows she ain't gotta be asked that type of question, especially in, I would argue, most marriages. But at the same time, it's not all marriages or all relationships. A lot of relationships and marriages actually are not that tight. I know mine was, my previous marriage was that tight. We did everything together, always together. You know, that whole thing. It wasn't no. I mean, if somebody wants to cheat or commit adultery, there's nothing you could do to stop that. It can happen because people can make it happen, but yeah. Without DNA tests, even though I believe my marriage and relationship was that tight, I didn't have any suspicions at all, you know, and my ex-wife didn't have any suspicions of me. They had no reasons for those. There's always a possibility without a test. That's one of the problems here. Okay. So again, in these situations, especially when the child is, you know, a newborn, should primary custody automatically be changed to the actual, if there's a biological father that can be and is identified? And to go beyond this, to go beyond this. This also, I think, raises the question of the whole idea of the current state of default custody. Most ladies, in situations where there's marriage, they're single and there's no marriage, most ladies get default custody just by default. Most moms. Okay? And should that whole setup be questioned now? Should that also be questioned now? I mean, should all moms still get default custody? Because that setup, that family court setup, was established back in like the early 1900s, mid 1900s, because in most relationships and households, the man was the one that primarily went out to work and earn the income and resources, while moms, especially when the children were babies or young, mom stayed at home and took care of home. So during those times, it was obvious who was the primary caregiver of the children. But when you look at that today, really that's been not the case. That's old. That's been gone since, I would argue, about the mid 80s. That's been gone because around about the mid 80s, most ladies began to join the workforce. And now most ladies are working full-time jobs just like most men are. Most husband and wives, they both working full-time. So around about the mid 80s and after, coming to our current day, there is no primary caregiver or default primary caregiver in the house, because both parents are working full-time. So both parents, especially if they're married and in the same household, in most cases, or even if they're single and just living together in the same household, most parents are equal caregivers. And they're also, in many cases, and it was in mine, I was the primary caregiver of my children, which is another reason why I was awarded custody. But I ain't gonna get into that. So if we're gonna start looking at, should default custody, the default setup that's been since the early 1900s, if that needs to be knocked down, erased, then shouldn't a new process be established where both parents and are looked at by the so-called family court system, and they're viewed equally in regards to what each parent has to, the stability or lack thereof, what each parent has to offer their children, and then the family court decide that the children primary custodial parent should be the parent that's the most stable, the most currently capable of providing for the child or children. Shouldn't that be the parent after a stability evaluation, if you want to call it that? shouldn't that parent be the parent that is given primary custody since they're both working full-time jobs? Yeah. Because if that's not where we're going, I know I'm off of the parentage fraud for just a moment, but just real quick, if default custody is not also being looked at and to be changed, then the state using the traditional default mom is just the automatic default primary caregiver custody approach, the state is actually, in some cases, and there's a lot of men that will argue in most, the state is forcing kids into the custody of the most unstable parent or unsafe living environment parent in many cases. Is that actually in the best interest of the children or child? No. There's thousands of men that would argue today. I have this list of things that identify me as the more stable parent, from income to my residence, where I live, being in a better environment, where I live, having access to better schools, and you just go down the list of different things. Compare those same things with what mom is able to provide, and in many cases, dad, the biological father, is actually the more stable parent and is in a position to provide a more stable environment for the children. But the states and courts, so-called satanic family court system, they're just going, kids with mom. We don't hear all that. Kids with mom. That's all that's been going on. And like I said, in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, sure, moms were the ones at home all the time. But once most ladies entered the workforce, they're working full-time jobs just like the fathers are, or their husbands are. So with that in mind, you got to work things out, try to work them out logically. With that in mind, what are some of the effects of this default custody thing? Like I said, the family court literally is putting a lot of kids by default into poverty and impoverished living areas, or there's a lot of kids who are their mothers is the primary custodial parent and their mothers is on assistance. So oftentimes they live in neighborhoods and communities where other people are on assistance as well. And then oftentimes in those communities, the schools in those communities are the worst in the state, worst in the city. The healthcare options are also in those areas poor. Yeah, there may be a couple of health clinics, but it's different levels of healthcare as you move around your city and your state. So if the primary custodial parent is living in an impoverished area, not only is the education impoverished or probably the worst in the city, but the healthcare in that area. So now the children are getting access to some of the worst healthcare. And also in most of those communities, those are some of the most unsafe communities in a city. But that's where the courts, the family courts are just automatically setting up primary custody. And most of you already know, whatever the reason, a family or a single parent is in poverty, whatever the reason, living in poverty in these poor communities overall, you have significantly, or the children have significantly reduced life opportunities, just in general. They're not going to get very many opportunities in an impoverished community, an area. They're going to get less opportunities in an area as opposed to if they lived in a far better economic community. We'll say maybe the other parent having primary custody. Those schools are better. The health care is better. They're safer communities. Yes, bad stuff can happen anywhere. That's don't stick on the exceptions. But there ain't nobody can argue that there's not some areas in every city that are more unsafe than other areas. I mean, we typically say, well, this area is better than this area, or that area, you got to watch out, don't go through there, or whatever. All that type of stuff comes into play. But again, the satanic family court system forces this default primary custody on most kids. Whether that mom is capable of providing or requires assistance or what have you. Shouldn't that be looked into also? I mean, if custody is viewed at, from a 50-50 starting point or equal, since both parents are working full time, shouldn't it be viewed at a 50-50 starting point? Shouldn't both parents at birth or shortly thereafter, if not before, be required to submit, basically stability information regarding, so the family court can determine if there's going to be a custody dispute? Because now, that's if. A lot of fathers ain't trying to have custody, but for the ones that are, shouldn't both mom and dad's information, their stability information, be provided to the family court system so the family court system can review that information and make a determination as to who is the most stable parent? And based on that, that's who should have default primary custody? Now, yes, there'll be a lot of situations where both parents are stable. Well, if that's the case, then, you got to look at other information to make that decision. Who's been the most active in children's lives, things of that nature. So if that's looked at, what type of things, here at One Brothas Mind, we go in. We break it down to the last compound. And because of that, smash the like button, share this report on all your social media with all your peoples, and be sure to be subscribed to One Brothas Mind, where we try to bring you the information and facts you need. So if default primary custody is looked at, what are some of the factors that should be actually looked at in regards to both parents? Of course, right off the top, income, current income, not when I'm about to get a job over here. No. What's your income today? The residence and its location. What neighborhood, community are you living in? How long have you lived at that residence? Because there's a lot of people who are jumping residents or places where they're living every time you turn around. That's not in the best interest of children, is it? There may be reasons why they're doing that, but overall, is that in the best interest of children? Family court system? Satan? People's credit scores. Should that be considered? I'm asking the question. I know y'all hate KD Smooth, right? Nah, I know y'all hating KD Smooth. Especially a lot of ladies right now. I get it, but I ain't scared of y'all. So, how about both parents' criminal and arrest records? These are some of the things that should be taken into account when determining who is going to be made the primary custodial parent, right? The education levels. And like I said, the prior involvement or care level to the child or children. Just to name a few. Okay? And then shouldn't each parent have the opportunity within the submission of this information to also submit contrary information and documentation of why the other parent should not be made the primary custodial parent if they have some information available? Okay, here's another one. How about each person's medical or mental health history? Yeah, we goes there here at One Brothas Mind. We ask the questions that should be being asked. But again, don't hate me. I'm just asking questions. All right. So with all of that should be being considered, many times, and it's not being considered, many times the courts are legally forcing kids into poverty or unsafe situations and environments, or at least in the between the two parents, they're forcing kids into the custody of the parent who's less able to provide reasonably for the children. Now, to the fellas out there, y'all gotta raise y'all standards and stop having children with them. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all have to stop doing it. That's the only real full protection currently you have. Stop having children with Keisha and y'all know their names. I know, fellas. I know. We love them all. We do. I know. But that doesn't mean we have to have children or get them pregnant. Okay? I have to provide some and some advice, and then beyond that, the truth, gentlemen, we're not supposed to be fornicating at all, according to scripture. Yeah, I'm always gonna give you what Yah says, what God says. If you wasn't out there, if you ain't out there fornicating, you ain't gotta worry about none of this that I'm talking about right now. And that goes for the ladies, the sisters too. Always, here at One Brothas Mind, do what Yah says first and only. Now, within this type of evaluation, definitely women should not be penalized for their time during pregnancy and recovery time. That shouldn't be counted against them because they're on maternity leave or they're not working. They just went through having a child. So that period of time, it's like, what was your income prior, to having the baby and whatnot? Do you got a job? Or you still got a job to go back to that you making, a good livable income on, and so on and so forth. Of course, they're not working when they just had the baby in most cases. Okay. Now, also, if the biological father does not submit info, then shouldn't it be set up that he can only file for custody at a later time with an attorney through the, regular process, if that's what he decides to do? The whole point of what I'm talking about in this section is this is potentially a way to do it kind of just before birth or just after birth that would be, you would help decide custody or primary custody, in a less expensive, costly way to both parties and to the children. Okay? So again, a lot of these issues are being looked at, family. If you haven't heard about it, they are being looked at. And today we are focusing on the question, should it be a crime to falsely accuse someone of being a child's father? Parentage fraud. That's what we're looking at today. All right. But wait. There's more.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you.
KD Smooth here, One Brothas Mind. I got a bonus section for you. And we're going to go to the bonus section. All right. The bonus section today, we're going to drop this in here for y'all. Let me get it together. The bonus section is this. We got bonus today. This is the bonus section. Oh, Lord, we are cutting off and all that already. Let me try to get it together. All right, there we go. It's a little bit better. Yeah, y'all see the headline on that one. Oh, Lord, it's moving. Get back over there. There we go. In the state of Florida, they've created a new law. Your boy, DeSantis, has created a new law about alimony. So I'm gonna share this clip with you, this bonus clip with you, before we get up out of here. Something else for y'all to think about and consider. And like I said, ladies, all of these things are being relooked at and across the country. So the hustle game that a lot of ladies have been running, in many cases, is about to come to an end. Okay, if a lot of these laws, and in this case, this is actual law in Florida. It was just passed. It's not like the Tennessee one we started with. They trying to pass that one in regards to the parentage fraud. This alimony law I'm about to share with you, it's already law. So let's jump into this right quick. Here we go.
If you're going through a divorce, listen up. A new bill signed by Governor DeSantis creating big changes to alimony starting July 1st. It essentially eliminates permanent alimony in the state of Florida, and it allows ex-spouses to more easily make changes to the alimony once they reach retirement. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's break it all down. Judges can now reduce or terminate alimony support or maintenance payments after considering factors like the age and health of the person making the payments, the retirement age of that person's occupation, the economic impact a reduced alimony would have on the recipient of the payments, and the motivation for retirement and likelihood of returning to work for the person making those payments. Now, this bill will also set a 5-year limit on what is known as rehabilitative alimony, which is intended to provide financial support to a spouse until they are financially self-sufficient. And under the new law, couples married for less than 3 years will not be eligible for alimony payments. And now you have to be married 20 years or longer in order to be eligible to receive payments for up to 75% of the term of the marriage.
The new bill that was just signed into law on July the 1st, 2023 will not apply retroactively to the cases that the parties already entered into a settlement agreement or there's already been a judicial determination. My understanding is that it will in fact apply to cases that have already been filed, but they're still in progress and there's not been a final order entered or a settlement agreement, as well as any new cases that will be filed in the future.
The law is being met with mixed reactions. Some groups like...
Okay, family, we're going to leave it there. Now they're getting into the useless information, but y'all heard it. The new law that just went into effect July 1st canceled permanent alimony. All right. I'm tripping. Honestly, because I have to be totally transparent. I didn't even know some states have a permanent or had a permanent alimony law. I didn't even know. What in all the hell is permanent alimony? How is that a thing? Fellas, y'all gonna have to help me out on this one. What? I gotta get it to myself first. What? This is me, right? When I came across this story. How is permanent alimony a thing? Really? So you're divorced, you no longer have a wife, but many wives are receiving permanent alimony? Nah, bruh. No. No, I'm sorry, y'all. Nah. What? Nah, I can't. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Permanent alimony? I mean, are y'all serious right now? What? How can you get a divorce and still get permanent alimony? Permanent? What? I mean, don't get me wrong. In a lot of cases, alimony should be paid. It is justified. Don't get me twisted, but come on, Satan. Come on, man. Permanent alimony? Yeah. That's what they was doing in Florida until they passed this law. Okay? So, man, this messed me up when I came across this story. And like I said, the new law just went into effect that you heard on the clip July 1st this year. Okay. So, I mean, yeah. Permanent alimony. That's what we doing? I mean, like I said, in most cases, when divorces occur, there's a child or children involved. So basically, one parent, most times it's the dude, it's the father, he's paying child support. That provides additional income to help support the children, right? And there's, without question, issues with that, but we're not going there today. But in addition to that, a lot of ex-husbands are not only paying child support, but they're paying in Florida and whatever other states that have these laws, they're paying permanent alimony. Are you serious right now? I mean, are you serious right now? In my opinion, here at One Brothas Mind, I don't care what the situation is. If you get a divorce, well, let me back up here. Most of y'all already know, 70% of divorces that are filed for by ladies. So in Florida, get it straight. Ladies can have been getting married for however many few years or whatever. Ladies can file for divorce at up to a 70% click. For whatever reason, even if it's a so-called no-fault divorce filing, and walk away with not only child support, but permanent alimony for the rest of their lives. But they're not wives to that man for the rest of his life. Ooh, wow. So to be clear, here One Brothas Mind, if you are 45 years old or younger and a divorce occurs, regardless of who files for it, and the wife, especially in the cases where the wife was a stay-at-home mom and didn't work at all for a significant period of time, that wife deserves alimony for at least the next 2 to 5 years. And that's up to the court to decide, or should be up for the court to decide the exact number of years, but at least the next 2 to 5 years. That's enough time for the ex-wife to get a job and provide for herself. She's not a wife anymore, even if she was a stay-at-home mom. You gotta get a job. What the hell is this permanent alimony crap? Okay. And I know I'm pissing off a whole lot of ladies. Yeah, if y'all, it's kind of, I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna go there because this KD Smooth. It's kind of like similar to white privilege. It's something that y'all have been just enjoying and benefiting from and having for so long that now that it's being challenged, even just to hear somebody talking about challenging some of these privileges, in this case, privileges of ladies, that ladies have this hustles that ladies been getting away with for a long time. Just to hear somebody talking about these things pisses y'all off. I get it. Yeah, hey, I would if we was getting away with these type of hustles and levels of hustles, we wouldn't want them to go away either. So I get it. You know. Still, if you try to cuss me out in the comments, your comment will be blocked. But be respectful. But for my brothers out there, you have to learn and research before you have a child and before you get married the marriage and child support laws in your state. That's just a requirement. You can no longer. You shouldn't have been. You should have been doing this 30 years ago. Men should have been doing this 30 years ago. So you know how the setup is, what you can and cannot do, and you can make a decision on whether or not, based on the laws in your state, you want to actually get married in your state. Okay? Now, a couple of words of advice for the fellas out there. The marriage laws in the United States, like this one and others, are so satanic. At the very least, fellas, because here at One Brothas Mind, we try to also provide solutions. So, fellas, y'all have to make sure y'all only marry or have children with ladies that you are at least equally yoked with. Now, that's more of a biblical term. Y'all on the same level. Y'all got the same things going on. Like, can we say incomes, equal incomes? Or, you know, if you got a decent income, whatever lady you're considering having children with or marrying, her income shouldn't be should be less than $10,000 less than yours. If you make, I don't know, 80,000 and she makes 70, you might be okay. Be able to, depending on what she does for a career or living, you might be okay. You might come out okay. Have a chance to come out okay. But here at One Brothas Mind, my advice would be, fellas, do everything you can to try to marry and have children. If you're going to do that here in the U.S., marry and have children with ladies that had a larger income than you had. Definitely do that if you can. Basically, fellas, this is what I did, this research and all this, the same thing I'm telling you before I was married and had children, and I figured this out. This was part of my plan, and I made it happen. You know, I married my ex-wife. At the time we married, we were equally yoked via incomes. We made the same money, basically, right? And then, you know, I did everything just as she did, would say she did. We supported each other to continue to build our careers and our incomes, and hers ended up blowing up higher than mine, which was great. I supported it 100%. Was not a problem. Okay? So that when we divorced, and fellas, another little nugget. Are you listening? We separated, but let's say my ex-wife separated from me, but I filed for divorce in custody when that happened, when she made that decision. It makes a difference who files. Fellas, are you listening? Are you listening? Are you paying attention? Just check it. Okay. Also, one other thing you could try and do is, if you get married, you know, before you get married, try to confirm that your wife is in agreement that y'all plan is that she's going to return to work after your children, at least by the time your children or your child starts full-time preschool. Okay? It makes a difference. Okay? And then ultimately, the ultimate advice I can give you fellas is do what Yah says. Always and every day. Follow scripture. Don't never ever forsake what Yah says, what God says, how you should be living your life. Okay, that's the ultimate advice here at One Brothas Mind. And unfortunately, kind of come to this with these satanic laws here in the United States. One other side note advice, a lot of y'all fellas already know it. Get your passport. And if you are feeling some kind of way about the U.S. laws in regards to marriage and child support and alimony and all this other stuff, don't marry in the U.S. or have children in the U.S. Get your passport. Research the laws and those same laws in other countries, and decide that if that's what you decide to do, and you meet a lady in another country that you feel has better laws in regards to marriages and divorce and all that, marry there. Build your family there. And definitely do not make the mistake some fools are making. If that's what you decide to do, do not make the mistake of bringing, after you married somewhere else, some other country, bring your wife back to the U.S. Don't do that. And lastly, I just want to say, family, hit the like button, because I went in on this one today. Hit the like button, smash the likes, share this report on all your social media. Let's chop it up about it, ladies. I mean, let me have it. Let me know how y'all feel about these laws. Do y'all feel they're fair? Now remember, many of y'all feel a lot of these laws are fair, like the permanent alimony. I mean, do you understand what that is? That means your ex-husband, if he has to pay permanent alimony, he can never retire. He has to work until he dies so he can pay you, his ex-wife, alimony that the court said he has to pay. He can't get it adjusted. He can't get it reduced. Nothing. So he's going to work until he dies. Y'all know you smiling right now, but no, that's satanic. You're not his wife. And what's crazy, there's a lot of married couples that are in their 50s or 60s and they're getting divorced during those ages. I mean, right at or near retirement age. Should there be permanent alimony? No. Your ex-husband has worked his whole life. He deserves to be able to retire just like you retire. So he should not have to pay permanent alimony. You ain't taking care of no kids in your 50s and 60s. If you need more income to live, get a job. I mean, especially when 70% of the time, it's y'all ladies the one that's filing for divorce anyway. Right? Get a job. Move on. At worst, 2 to 5 years. That's enough time, even if you're in your 50s or 60s, to get a job, reset up your life as far as what income you're having and are getting and earning. And the fact that you feel like you don't have a retirement plan, you're not his wife. So your ex-husband, when you divorce, is not your retirement plan. You have to come up with your own. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there, family. Let me know about this report and these issues, family, in the comments. Let's chop it up. Like I said, they're not really, especially the one out of Tennessee, the bill for parentage fraud, it's not really being discussed and put out there in lamestream media. But as you see, it's a real bill and they're trying to make it law. And then, we talked about, is it time for default custody to be looked at? And then lastly, the bonus round, permanent alimony got canceled in Florida. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fallout from that. So y'all let me know what you think on this report and these issues in the comments. Let's chop it up. Share this report on all your social media. I mean, these are discussions that need to be happening. We need to figure this stuff out and make it where it's equitable for men and women, not a hustle lopsided game for one party or the other. Okay? All right. And this concludes this broadcast for One Brothas Mind. We thank you for joining us. And as a part of the new Black media, B1 choices are mandatory and being on code is required. But never fear, Yeshua the Christ is with you always. Shalom.